Welcome back to another edition of the American Scouser podcast. I'm Hilary, and with me, I have Tim and Jack. Hopefully, this will be a decidedly less pessimistic than usual discussion, but who knows with these two. Hi, guys.
How you
Have
doing?
no fear, Jack is here to be the optimist. So
Um, so I wanted to discuss, obviously, the game over the weekend, perhaps a few details that we didn't cover in the reaction podcast, and also the fixture tomorrow away at Burnley, and then do a little bit of a preview of our schedule for the rest of the month to the end of the year, and talk about that a little bit. So, first and foremost, the game this weekend. What was your reaction in that last minute? Uh, Jack, I guess since we didn't hear, since we heard from Tim on the weekend podcast reaction.
Well, it took me about an hour to stop shouting. So I mean, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? It was truly unbelievable. It took about 65 replays to understand what had happened to that ball, and I'm still at the conclusion it would have gone out had he not got his hand to it. So yeah, and then Origi putting it away was unbelievable. So what a fantastic result. But I thought we deserved the win anyway. There's been a lot of talk about Everton deserved the draw, but I don't subscribe to that. I thought we did we outplayed them, especially second half, and we had a majority of the possession and the opportunities. So I thought it was an amazing game, and absolutely delighted at the way it finished.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But in terms of play, I thought it was pretty even. But if somebody had to win, I would think it would be us, right, Hilary?
Yeah, I think, and the stats show that we definitely surpassed them in most areas. I think that it was also just a surprise to see them playing so well. In general, people were just like, "Wow." So, I in the 95th minute, I was disappointed, but I was okay with a draw. But it feels amazing to have won, especially the way that we did. But we definitely deserved it. I don't think there was, though. I mean, we got the win, and that's what, there is no deserving. In the end, we got the win, and that's, what we had to do. So, I guess that leads into my next question, which was, does this change how you feel about Origi as a player and his place in the squad?
I mean, Origi as a player, probably. I mean, no. The goal is a pure center forward goal where you play Jack, you play the optimist. You just go after the ball, you go for the best case scenario, and he did. And I mean, if you notice, it's only the two strikers, if you will, that are following that ball in Origi and Sturridge, with Origi being a lot closer. So he did what he had to, and he finished it. I mean, let's face it, if this game ends without that scenario, with Pickford not losing his mind and letting us get a corner kick, or just letting the ball go out, are we really even talking about Origi? We probably are not. I mean, because he missed that wide open one right in front of net, and he hit the post on that one. But I mean, I didn't have a overall negative feel about him as a player anyway. I mean, Everton, that game where he got injured, kind of really set him back. Up until that point, he was a very promising young forward who has pace, size, and pretty darn good finishing as well. I think this buys him more time and more opportunity with all these games coming up. I think he will get a few more looks in the least. And worst case scenario, if we still are in the plans of selling him in January, which I thought was the original plan, we might have increased his price a little bit.
I don't know. I think he looked a different player, to be honest. He looks much fitter than he's ever looked. I don't know whether it was his haircut, new haircut or something, but he looks a different player. It looks like he's been training, boxing training or something. He looks way fitter and stronger than he did before. And I thought he took his he looked fast. He looked strong. He took his opportunity. I don't know. I think, obviously Klopp's seeing something in him in training that we don't get the privilege of seeing. But he didn't make any further purchases for strikers at the beginning of the season. So he must have faith in him, and to bring him on, we were out playing Everton, and we looked like we were pressurizing them, looking like we were going to score. So to take Salah off and have the confidence in Origi to bring him on, I think maybe he's got a big part to play in the season.
Yeah. I agree. I think that, but though I do think that the pressure is now on him, after such an exquisite moment to deliver. And I think that the pressure with that looming transfer in January and the summer is also probably a good thing, because it makes him want to perform. I mean, he always wants to perform, but I feel like now it's giving him this opportunity to really show up. But that leads me to Fabinho. What did you guys think? Because I'm pretty sure I picked him in my starting lineup, and I was really impressed with his performance, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
You want to go first?
Sure, why not? I thought he played good overall. I mean, I didn't think he was great. I don't think he was below average. I think he kind of played his role pretty well. Brings something different to that defensive midfield position, I think, because of his size. He doesn't have the speed, but he definitely has the size. So he's a bit more physical, plays a lot taller, at least in terms of winning more air balls. But I think there were a couple of times where he overcommitted and left a lot of gaps behind him. And obviously it's going to happen. He would overcommit to a tackle, and if if the ball moved before he got there, it left a huge gap behind. And obviously with time, he'll probably play better with Van Dijk and Gomez, or whoever is playing center backs. I mean, there was a time, I think it was in the first half, where him and Van Dijk went to the same header. And I was talking with Dave in the reaction podcast. I think that's because they're not used to each other, because probably Henderson's not going for that header. And Fabinho isn't expecting Van Dijk to come behind him and get it. So that's something that will improve over time. I mean, he's a solid player. Obviously, his quality, you can't argue his quality. And over time, I think as he plays more, he'll have more confidence too. You would think when he gets these opportunities now, he's probably pressing himself a little bit to do almost over the top, maybe forcing some passes and stuff like that. I mean, if you're replacing a guy who's constantly being badgered for passing back, your inclination is probably to pass forward to show that you're different. I'm hoping, once he settles in, gets more opportunities, and becomes almost a regular, he won't feel those pressures and kind of feel a lot more natural. But I mean, no, I'm obvious. I thought he was pretty darn good overall in terms of how he stopped so many attacks, and he was able to contribute in the build up a lot of times as well.
Mm-hmm.
How did you like him, Jack?
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. I think you're harsh, mate. I thought it was awesome. His tackling was superb.
He had the most tackles in the game.
Yeah, that's not surprising. He was really, really good. He's he broke down everything that Everton started to produce. I thought he got his foot in there. He obstructed their play. He got in a lot of tackles. I thought he was fantastic. I thought that was one of his best performances in a Liverpool shirt, and I'm excited. I think he's gonna grow into. I think he's gonna be a very, very good player for us.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like he was everywhere. He did a great job going wide when the fullbacks were forward, and I think in previous games, his tackles and some of his passes kind of concerned me. The momentum always felt a little bit disjointed, but he really looked like he was in his element. And I think I'm excited now. I have a lot more confidence in him. But who would you put with him in the midfield moving forward if he did take that starting position?
Well, I mean, we were rotating so much right now. I would love. I think this evolution of this Klopp team is really just begging Keita to come into that the forward of the three midfielders. So I think you probably want another sort of defensive midfielder, as it were, in Milner or Henderson, to go alongside Fabinho, and then let Keita be the more creative of the midfield three. I think that's the natural progression. But Keita's got to get more time on the field to get a better understanding. But I think him with Shaqiri and Mane on the wings, I think it's going to be phenomenal.
I'm thinking it almost feels like if you have Keita and Shaqiri on the field at the same time, we would suffer in terms of physical and defensive when it comes to midfield. So we're waiting on Keita. I mean, obviously he showed sparks when he played before he got injured. And I agree. I think the long-term plan is to have them in there. And I really would rather have Shaqiri on the wings, either relieving Mane or Salah, giving them a breather and playing on the wing instead of from the midfield, unless he can kind of improve his game and become what Ox brought when he was playing, because he brought a lot more physical and defensive work, I think, compared to what we get right now from Shaq. Right now, if we're playing, I would ideally see. I mean, if it's a good Keita, I think Keita, Gini, Fabinho make a good three in the midfield. That's not gonna get bullied or outworked, and also has tons of ability to create for the front three. But like Jack says, we're rotating so much right now. I don't know if we're gonna ever see an ideal three over there. And you would think, when Ox comes back, he's part of that ideal three, which I don't know who he would replace, Keita or Gini.
It stopped being a team game now, hasn't it? It's started to be a squad game.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's what makes it hard. But I mean, that's what you have to do. I mean, you watch City today. Some of the players they can bring in and not skip a beat, and that's what you ideally want. I think the problem we had before was all the midfielders we had were the same guy, and now we have different players. That's why I think it's exciting to have a better squad, because you can look on the bench and not only you have players that are quality, but they bring different stuff to the game. So I think gives Klopp a lot more flexibility in terms of bringing a different type of player that can bring a totally different aspect, as opposed to just refreshing what you have on the field with some fresher legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on the game? What do you think of Klopp's run onto the field?
I was actually happy to see that he got away with just a fine. That's just a slap on the wrist, which is good for us. I was expecting at least one game just to kind of make a statement so that they don't have a circus on the field. So I was kind of happy to see that he just got away with a fine. That's really nothing. And that's Klopp being Klopp. I think that's what the players love about him. Would we like it if it happened to us? Hell no. So it probably shouldn't happen. And I'm sure I think he regretted it more because it kind of took away from just the amazing end and the story of Origi coming in, just the whole drama. I think he felt bad that it kind of took away from it because people were now talking about this. And he realized what he had done the moment he kind of, came back to himself, looked like, and that's why he sprinted back. But yeah, it's just Klopp being Klopp, really. Like I say, I mean, there had to be some kind of a penalty coming. Thank God. I really feel like we got away with that one. I was afraid of at least like a 1-game ban.
Mhm.
I thought it was brilliant. He's been charged $8,000 for running on the pitch. I'd pay $8,000 to go and celebrate that goal.
Yeah, that's nothing.
It was
No, that's
fantastic.
nothing, and that's awesome.
And it rubbed it in the Blue Nose's face even more. So I was delighted. What a celebration!
I guess one of the final things about the game that I wanted to touch on was our goal scoring and what it is exactly that we're missing, or is it just the case that we need to get a little bit more momentum? Mane and Shaqiri both had they both missed sitters, and Salah keeps, the majority of the game he's got 2 or 3 guys all over him, which isn't anything really that different from before. But do you think it's all mental? Do you think it's just a case of, kind of getting used to the new system since he changed it around a bit? Because everything that's going on defensively is working quite well for us since we're kind of breaking team records and stuff in that regard. Um, what do you see happening over the month? Do you think we're going to get momentum and our goal scoring is going to change, or are we just going to have to, keep, taking these 1-0 wins and hope that Man City makes a mistake or 2 or 3? Because that's probably the reality, is they'll have to, make a few mistakes if we're ever going to pass them.
Well, I don't think we need to worry about the scoring. I mean, we've been wasteful this season, but I think it's more. Yeah, the strikers need a little bit more shooting practice because they've, Mane should have scored a hat-trick against Everton, but for me, it's been more the final pass, which last season, all the passing between the 3 strikers was phenomenal, and that's why we're scoring so many. And if we can get that past that final pass before, we'd create twice as many chances and we'd score a lot more. But I still don't think we're ever going to score as many as City. So I think you have to give up that goal difference point and
just give it up already.
Anything about the differential? I just meant like our goal scoring as a whole.
I think we're going to win a lot of games 1-0, 2-0. And I just don't think it's going to be a completely different team than it was last year in terms of racking up the goals. I could see us getting a few against Burnley maybe. But yeah, I think it's just a much more measured Liverpool performance. You just have to get used to the 1 and 2 nils, I feel, rather than the 4-3 victories.
The 96th minute winners.
Tell you what, I'd love one of those against Man United.
Yes, I would. I think, the formation, the way we're playing is changing. But, just looking at Everton game alone, we had the chances. They were right there. And those are probably finishes we're converting last year. And I think it's going to come to a point where eventually they're going to start going in. I mean, I guess, it's like kind of half glass, half empty, half full kind of deal. I mean, should we be happy that even though we haven't have scored at will, we know this front 3 can, and we're still only 2 points behind? Or we worry because we're really struggling to just barely keep up. I really think these guys are eventually gonna. It is a little bit in their head where once they start converting, it's gonna open the floodgates. And here's another thing: like if we're able to score a couple earlier, it opens up the rest of the game for us because now the other team has to come at us, and that's what we thrive on when we can go on the counter. When we cannot get those early goals and we struggle to convert, well, that team, the opposing team becomes more and more compact. It gets harder and harder to score for us. So I think once we start converting earlier, more goals will come. If we score, 2 in the first half, and that team in the second half comes at us, we are probably converting that to like a 4-1, 5-1 victory like we were last year. But the guys' quality is obvious. We're getting the chances. It's just a matter of eventually these things going in. And I think, I'm assuming we're going to see it starting with this Burnley game, but giving some of these guys some rest can only help. And if these guys coming off the bench like Sturridge or Iggy can bring something to the field and convert some, we just need to get the floodgates opened over here. I think the rest will come.
Well, your final point actually leads into one of my questions for the Burnley game. All 7 of our league goals at Turf Moor have come in the second half. So based on the way we've been playing, and there are some injuries to our squad, they have a handful of injuries as well. Do you see this game playing out that way, where it's going to be a trudge into the second half and just waiting for those breakdowns and that opportunity?
I think my main concern is how much rotation will we have, and how, I feel like when it's only 1 or 2 players, it doesn't affect our overall play except you're getting some fresh minds. Sometimes when we do, multiple changes, becomes 3, 4, 5, you see some major like disconnects on the fields and we just play like really poorly. I'm actually fairly optimistic about tomorrow, provided we go up with a more of a physical, because Burnley away games are always just like a bar fight for the most part. So we just got, I would assume like Lauren will be out there tomorrow, for example. I think Henderson will be out there tomorrow. Even maybe Milner. We just need more fighters out there tomorrow as opposed to more finesse players, just the way away Burnley games have been, really.
Yeah, I think that I think Robertson is going to be missing, so I think we're going to have Moreno, which I think is the perfect game for him to come into, because he's attacking, and we should be attacking Burnley the whole game. Burnley are struggling. They're not the team that they were last season, so I think we're going to get a lot of opportunities, and I hope Moreno is going to be part of that. But I also think Mane is going to be out. Yeah. He's had stitches in his foot, so I think we're going to see a different lineup, and you may even get Sturridge or Origi out there, very very early if not starting. So I hope we can start with a goal first half, because I agree with you, Timucin. If we can get that early goal, it settles the nerves, and we can hopefully open the floodgates. But we just have to hope, huh?
Well, they're 19th in the table. They've lost the last 5 out of 6, and they're definitely not the team they were last year. So I feel like the opportunity is there, but they're going to be very desperate. And I don't know. I think it's supposed to rain. It's going to be very cold. It's going to be a hell of a game, I think.
It's going to be normal Burnley weather.
Yeah. Well.
Basically, yeah. And that's why I think our lineup will be a lot more different. And I don't think Mane is going to be out there based on what I see and read. So that left side will be all new, which could be good or bad. Because if we know that, I'm sure Burnley knows that, so they'll be attacking us from their right side.
Well, go ahead and if you have a lineup in mind, share the whole lineup.
Do you want to take a first crack at it, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll obviously have Alisson in goal. I think we'll have Trent, Van Dijk. I still think we're going to start with Gomez because Moreno is going to be out there. I don't think we should have Lovren and Moreno together. And then I think we're going to have a midfield three of Henderson, Fabinho, and Keita. This is controversial, right? Because I got Milner starting out on the left and Shaqiri on the right with Salah up front.
Huh.
So I got a 4-3-3.
So who did you have up front again? I'm sorry, who was the front three? You have Mane playing?
No, Mane is not going to play for me, and I think we're going to rest Firmino. So the midfield of Henderson and Fabinho, with Keita playing a more forward role, creative role, and then Shaqiri and Milner on the other side with Salah up front.
That's an interesting lineup, yes.
So you're having Milner sort of in front of Mourinho?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God! Bubble wrap the entire left side. And...
So distrustful. With good reason. With good reason.
Okay, so I had obviously Alisson in goal. Yeah, Moreno on left. I really think it's going to be Van Dijk and Lauren, with Trent on the right side. Okay. Midfield, I'm thinking we start with a totally different three, and it will be Henderson, Milner with Keita. And I think Shaqiri plays instead of Mane. And I think we have Sturridge in the middle with Salah on the right, is my prediction. Which is still a pretty good lineup in terms of having a lot of blue-collar workers in the middle and still has the speed outside. And I'm really expecting big things out of Sturridge. I mean, Firmino's form, I think, is probably part of why the front three is not performing as well, because I think Firmino's role in how that front three performs is underrated. I mean, he's the most important part in that, in terms of being able to create for the other guys. And him dropping back too far, losing so many balls, I think he gets the rest. I'm really hoping that this could be Sturridge's game.
Yeah, Firmino definitely needs a rest, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like I say. I mean, obviously, is it the formation that's kind of goofing him up and not suiting him well? But I mean, in the Everton game, there were so many balls, like so many misplaced simple passes. Not even like trying to thread it in, but simple passes that were like, who was that to? Like he was totally out of it. And like I say, maybe a game off for him. For Mane and stuff will do him good. Robertson obviously needs the rest. And yeah, I mean, let's hope Moreno performs and doesn't. I mean, like I say, the speed he brings on the left-hand side, attacking wise, his shooting. I mean, he's a good player. We're just hoping that we just don't have that brain fart when it comes to defending.
Mm-hmm.
What have you got, Hilary?
Alisson, Trent, Lovren, Virgil van Dijk, and Mourinho. And then in the midfield, I would do Milner, Henderson, and Keita. And in the front, I think I would say Salah, Shaqiri, Shaqiri, Salah, and Sturridge. I'm really not sure how it would work, but I'm with you. I don't see Firmino playing tomorrow.
He needs a rest. He's had a dip in form, and he needs to sit it out, doesn't he? But
yeah.
And that still leaves us a lot of options to come off the bench. And obviously, he'll be on the bench. You would think Origi would make a presence. Like I said, we just don't know what this goal. Um, and not only his goal, I mean, he did, like Jack was saying, I thought he did extremely well when he came in. He had that huge run down the right hand side, showing his pace. In the box, he was dangerous. So it's going to be interesting to see what that has bought him in terms of how Klopp values him now. So do you guys think he finishes the season at Liverpool now because of that 96 minutes miracle?
Yeah. Well, I thought he was going to anyway. I didn't think we would be selling anyone in January. Only maybe bringing in a player or two.
Yeah, I agree.
We would try to get something for him before because isn't his contract up at the end of the year, so he pretty much walks?
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't know.
That's the impression I was under. Because I know in the beginning of the season, when the talk was, trying to sell him, and they were kind of like, we were overvaluing him compared to, the teams that were interested in him. So that's why I had the impression that he would be sold in January just to get something, so we don't have another Emre Can kind of deal.
I'm not sure. I can't wait for Harry Wilson to come back, though, to be honest.
Could we see that in January? It's possible. I mean, it's doable, isn't it?
I don't know what his contract is, because he might have to see out his loan for the entire season. I don't know what what's in the contract with Derby, but he's banging them in for fun, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's something to look forward to, but I just hate getting overexcited with young players because, like, where on earth is Woodburn right now? Because I try to watch, the games when they're on, and like I said, I know he was hurt for a while and he was coming in and things like that, but I remember when he was getting his opportunities, even in the breaking into making substitute performances and stuff like that. He was really up and coming, and he's really sunk from that. So I'm always very hesitant to get excited with young players, so they kind of can come and do at least a few games where we can see their potential, kind of like what Trent did and Gomez does. And
yeah, I thought you might say that, Timucin.
I know. See, I'm the pessimist. He balances things out. Do we see, is Lallana fit right now? Does he make an appearance tomorrow, you guys?
He's
One
injured.
of the things that I read, he was injured.
Got a muscle injury.
Which is not a shocker, I guess, but
no.
Yeah, and I'm also, no one can really verify whether or not Lovren is fit, since there was never any real news about why he wasn't in the 18 over the weekend. But I see no reason why he wouldn't play tomorrow. But it was one of the things I read mentioned people were including him in their lineups.
And that's why I wanted to pick your guys' brain about what, how this Origi thing plays out. I'm assuming it kind of would depend on if, Brewster is ready to come back, and if he can kind of be coming off the bench for us at the time. You would think somebody is going to have to leave in January, then either Solanke or Origi would be gone, because it feels like there's not enough room for them to get playing opportunities right now.
Definitely.
I don't know. I think they would want to be involved in the squad that's chasing for the league. I can't see anyone leaving in January. I think we might bring in, a player or two in January to bolster the squad. If we manage to get through the Champions League next stage, then we're going to need full strength squads to keep up with Man City, because they're just formidable.
So that leads me to our next topic of the schedule coming up for the next month. We have quite a few games. Saturday the 8th, we're at Bournemouth. Tuesday the 11th, we play Napoli. Sunday the 16th, Man United at Anfield. The 21st, we're at Wolves. The 26th, Newcastle at Anfield. The 29th, Arsenal. Uh, the 3rd is Man City. And then we just got our third round draw against Wolves away on the 5th, the weekend of the 5th. What are you looking forward to most about this next month? Which game in particular? And what are you dreading? Other than all of it.
What's that?
Other than all of it.
Yeah, if you ask me, I would be like dreading the whole month. But go
ahead. I cannot wait for that Man United game. I really can't. I would love to face Mourinho right now. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. I would love that last minute winner again. That would be phenomenal. I'm excited for the Arsenal game, but my God, nervous for that Man City game. I think that if we're going to win the league, then we have to beat City because they're not dropping points, are they? So for me, that's the crucial one.
Yeah, I think in terms of, I mean, not maybe dreading is not the right word, but probably nervously waiting would be the Manchester City game. See where we're at that point in terms of like point difference. If I become the optimist, maybe we'll be above them by then. But I mean, how many points behind are we if we're behind them? I really would kind of like that's probably the most important game, but that's a lot of big games in there. I feel like even the obviously United Arsenal has played a lot better. So that's not going to be an easy game, even though it is at Anfield. They're a lot more mentally stronger team than they were before. Never worried as much about Arsenal before because I felt like if we scored a couple on them, they would just, implode. But they feel a lot more mentally tough. I mean, just like this weekend's game alone kind of shows that. But I think the one I'm looking forward to the most in terms of winning is the Manchester United game. Um, I have like a special hatred for them, so I would those games I would rather like make sure we win. I don't want a last minute. There's only so much my heart can take. So hopefully we'll finish that job earlier, and obviously the Champions League game is a big one before it, and I think it will really set the tone for Saturday. And it can go both ways. I mean, if we win against Napoli and advance, we could be going in that high. And if we do not and do not go on in the Champions League, it would almost make the Manchester United game even more important, I think, because then the league will be all we have left.
Well, we very rarely lose two on the bounce, do we? So.
Exactly, and I think having the game at Anfield, I think is huge. So I mean, a lot of tough games in there. I mean, this is the month where we see how much better the squad is because you're not gonna win these games unless you have some really solid contributions coming off the bench. People maybe who would not be in your ideal 11 coming in and making a huge difference and stuff. I mean, we're going to see what the roster is all about. And I guess goes back to what you were saying, Jack. I think it will determine what we do in January in terms of what we bring in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're top of the table or even, just close to City after our game with them on January 3rd, then my God, I think the owners will just, pump in extra money to make sure that we can, because this, really is just a golden opportunity. We're doing so well this season. It would be stupid not to go all in.
Well, I mean, I heard there's a player that wants to play for Liverpool in Germany. So
here you go.
No, we're not getting into it.
I deliberately stayed away from that.
Um, I just remember last December was a lot of fun. I think. Maybe I'm thinking more of January, but and January ended up being like highs and lows, highs and lows. Um,
Well, we
but
ruined Everton's Christmas last year as well.
wait, what?
We ruined Everton's Christmas last year as well. So
Right. Well, and we all got a wonderful like Christmas gift in Virgil van Dijk. Like our hearts were all broken and then he came in. Um but I think I'm really looking forward to the Arsenal game.
uh,
Um wait, what?
I said, really? I'm nervous about that. They're a brand new proposition, aren't they?
I'm very worried about them actually. I'm probably more worried about them than Chelsea in the grand scheme of things. Just because they could be getting some momentum. Um, but I really feel like I last year's game we played them in December. Um, and it was that there were a lot of goals. I can't remember what the score line was. It was like 3-3 or
One
3.
of them was 3-3.
Three,
Yes.
3-3.
Yeah. And it was wild. That was just such a wild game. And so I think I'm probably nervous about it, but I think it's going to be an enjoyable game to watch. Fingers crossed. We'll have to get Ian on or something. Um, but obviously the Man United game, I love. I hated Jose Mourinho at first, but I love his theatrics, and I can't wait to really beat him. um, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
the game, it was 3-3 away, right? The last time we played them at Anfield was 4-0. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean it's a very very different team. I think they've this manager has managed to turn a mediocre team into a. I mean, they could be challenging for the title if they have a great December. There's no reason why they wouldn't, because they have got that momentum you spoke about, and they wiped Tottenham aside, didn't they? So I don't know. I'm nervous about that.
I guess my only like comfort in all of this is that Man City has to go through the same rigorous schedule that we do, and I'm really hoping that this is when they show that they're human. Um, and that we get that opportunity to take that top spot. Um, but it's this month is just going to be insane for everyone. So
It's just they make it seem so easy that it's kind of, like I say, discouraging to say the least. I just watching today's game. Um, it just looks too easy. And I think, like we were talking earlier, they're getting those early goals. And that's part of why I think it looks easier. They're getting those early goals. They're getting those teams to not be able to sit back and wait. And then they just feast on that and just keep scoring goals and increase that goal differential. But yeah, I mean, let's see what this heavy traffic does to them and if it, changes them. I mean, mind you, they have a deep squad too, but still, I mean, every team kind of like we do as well, but there are like 2, 3 players that are like, if they're taken out, I'm not sure if they can be replaced even with city money. So let's see if they can keep it going. But, watching their games is, I mean, first of all, they play great soccer. That goes without saying. Just watching them play and move that ball around. They make it look simple. Let's just hope that one of these times where they're passing that ball in the back, they make the mistake, get a goal scored on them, and that team can sit on it and cause City to lose some points. So fingers crossed, I guess, watching every game with some hope, but get discouraged watching those games, man, because like I said, they just make it look pretty darn easy right now.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I mean, we play them in January 3rd, so if we beat them, then then we go above them. So
That's true.
it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not too worried about City. I'm just, if we can just keep winning, that's all I'm concerned about right now. Because they will drop points over the course of the season. I mean, they drop points against Wolves. You never know in this league, do you? So I don't know. Keep doing what we're doing.
All right. So do we have the predictions for the score tomorrow?
There you go, optimists. Go for it first.
4-0.
Ah, man, you're such.
And I think we're going to see
Liverpool?
well, obviously. What are you suggesting, Hilary?
No.
And I think we're going to see a Keita goal.
Oh, okay.
I like that. I was gonna go with 3-1.
So negative.
And yeah, gotta sprinkle that in there. And let's hope this is the game that we get the early goals and make it a bit easier, and we get conceded just because we want to relax or something. But I'm pretty optimistic. I mean, this is as optimistic as I get, Jack. So I think we do win tomorrow. And I'm just more looking forward to seeing some of the rotation and like these players performing, because I think that's what's going to carry us this entire month.
Yeah. What about you, Hilary?
I would say 3-0. And I think that we're gonna get Van Dijk header.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Who's going to cross that ball in? I know I was picking on this last time too, but man, we do have some bad set pieces to watch.
I don't know. I feel, yeah, I feel you on that. Definitely.
Because even in this Everton game, I thought there were so many opportunities where we have these bodies in the middle. Like we do have Van Dijk and Gomez, and just like put the ball in the middle, and it was never getting past the front post. And it's not even like, there were a couple of times where you could see somebody making that run to basically hit the header to kind of like chip it towards the back, throw the defense off. But some of those corner kicks, there was nobody even making that run. It was just a bad corner kick or like a bad set piece taken in. But I just hope we can improve in that area, because, I mean, we play against a lot of teams that are below average, and that is their main weapon. Heck, I mean, when we watched the World Cup, I mean, I can't remember the ratio now, but it was a ridiculous amount of ratio that the goals that were coming from set pieces. And we earn a lot of them because they do fall, especially our forwards, a lot. I wish we could convert those and become a team that's dangerous, so that people think twice about committing that foul, which will kind of open up some other things as well.
Yeah, the corners were awful against Everton. They really were. We have come up with a few moves on the training ground on free kicks that I've seen this season. None of them have quite worked, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get some tomorrow, because we've got 4 goals to score, so maybe we'll get a free kick.
I like your optimism. It does go towards my goal differential issue.
Don't get too concerned about that. I've given up that point mentally.
Yeah, same here. It's just at this point, let's get the 3. I just more want to get the wins a bit easier for the sake of my health of my heart, for one, and not to mention to be able to kind of rotate a lot more and like bring some other players early, be able to rest some players. I mean, you get some early goals and score, you can take somebody important out that needs some minutes. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have a 3-0 lead, so maybe you can take Van Dijk out, for example, and stuff? I mean, can this guy play every minute? I mean, he's so solid. I mean, I hope he can play every minute, but that's the good thing I think about like getting some early leads and like some of these easier wins, kind of like I think the only two I can really recall off the top of my head this season have been West Ham and Southampton games, correct? I mean, can you guys think of any other wins that, like Watford, it was 3-0. It was a comfortable scoreline, but the game definitely was not. Those are the only two games I can think of where we were like, kind of can kick back and watch, if you will. And those are games I think that would be good to get some of these younger guys more playing time, get some people rest like Salah, Mane, and Firmino and stuff, so that we don't have to give them an entire game of rest, but we can kind of limit their minutes in like a specific game just because we have the game on hand already.
Yeah, I would say just never take out Van Dijk when Mourinho is on the field. Otherwise, I'll have a heart attack at that when that substitution is made.
I can't even believe putting in Lovren next to. I think you're crazy, guys.
I'm hoping to take the corner kicks and set pieces tomorrow and get an assist. How about that? Moreno for the assists.
Moreno goal. Wow. Oh.
And I'm still waiting for a Klein appearance, so.
That's a good point, actually.
Which we could see. Do we see that tomorrow? Wouldn't that be a shocker?
Do you know what? Yeah, I mean, we don't want to make too many changes, do we? But I mean, if you're talking about Van Dijk, then Lovren, Moreno, and Klein, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a bit scary, isn't it? Never mind, cancel that. When you put it like that, it sounded bad. So yeah, let's just keep that for another day.
Well, I mean, we should have the ball in their half for 80-90% of the game, right? I mean, the defense should not be that important tomorrow. Should.
Yeah. I mean, it's typical Burnley. They haven't been as successful at doing it, but they're going to do what they normally do. Yeah, they're going to sit back, try to get us on the counters, try to get us on set pieces, load the ball into the box, and hope, it bounces their way. Yeah, I don't see them dominating possession over us and taking the game to us. I think they sit and wait. And that's why it's pretty important, like, if he does play, how's Keita and Henderson and Milner do in the middle?
They do have a lot of injuries. I think that gives me a little bit of hope that maybe they're not going to be quite I don't think they were ever at 100% this season, but that they're not quite up to their usual antics. But
I mean, they might be more concerned about their goal difference as well. They might go for damage limitation because it's so close down at the bottom. Every goal counts. So
yeah, that's the other thing is like they're very desperate, and that's scary. So.
I think it's early for them to be scary desperate, if you will, because yeah, it is very. So, who is your guys' early prediction of the bottom three leaving? Now that we just suddenly opened the topic, let me throw it at you guys.
Southampton did so badly last week. They could only get a draw against Man United, which obviously meant their manager had to be sacked. So they're gonna get the bounce of a new manager now, aren't they? So I think they'll end up safe. But I worry about Burnley. I think Cardiff or Huddersfield will drop down with Fulham, and I think it'll be Fulham, Burnley, and Cardiff to go down. But I'm praying it's Palace. I would love to see Palace relegated.
Really? Why? Why the hatred for Palace?
Are you kidding me? Selhurst Park has been a nightmare for Liverpool for.
I guess in that sense.
Many years. They're a bogey team, so I'd love to see them out of the league.
I really think I haven't been watching every game like I was last season, so it's hard to tell based on how teams have been playing and not just their positions in the table, because it has been changing so much. I kind of agree. I think Huddersfield, um, but the other two, I really don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna go with Fulham, Huddersfield, and Cardiff as well. Unless, like you said, we don't know what's gonna happen in January and how these rosters will change if they're able to bring somebody in. But I mean, teams that struggle to score, I feel like Southampton have enough players, and with the coaching change, they'll bounce back. I mean, they look like that was so much fun to watch the Manchester United game. It looked like it was going to be like 5-6-0, but then they kind of choked it up. But I think they have players to be able to keep going. I think Burnley does too. Like when you look at rosters, those two teams' rosters, I think overall, when you compare them to Cardiff and Huddersfield, are so much better. So I guess it really depends on what they do in January as well. But
I thought Huddersfield were good. They were strong against us, you know.
yeah, I think it's like one of those teams that I think they struggle to score, and that's like, when you scored only 10 goals, that's bad.
Yeah.
In 15 games. That's just I mean, they're like the lowest in the league right now. I was actually more shocked to see. I mean, I would think teams like Crystal Palace, they have so much more attacking power that they would be better in there. But yeah, I mean, that's what makes this league, I think, the greatest league, really, because there is not a whole lot of difference between, you know, 8th-seeded United and then 20th-seeded Fulham when you look at it. So, I mean, there's like any of those teams I think can like move up and down. It is becoming a huge gap though now between 5th and 6th. So at this pace, if nothing drastic happens in the coming month, if you enter like this in January, it almost looks like um, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham fighting for the 3rd and 4th spots.
Confident.
I'm not saying I see. I'm the optimist.
That's some optimism right there.
You've accidentally fallen into some optimism.
Yeah, see, I'm not putting us into that drama this year, but it's kind of like a huge gap, and I think especially when we beat Everton and kept them down and we kept going, there's a huge gap. I mean, right now there's like an 8-point gap between Everton and Tottenham.
The thing is, though, Arsenal have lost 2, haven't they? And those are their first 2 games of the season. I think Arsenal will continue to continue this great form, and I do worry that they may end up challenging us for the 2nd spot, or even I don't think they're good enough to challenge for the title, but I think they'll finish. I think they'll finish 3rd above Chelsea and Tottenham.
I think we'll finish above Tottenham, but their defense is what's, I think, scary, and it will keep them away from definitely a title challenge. But come on, you got to be more optimistic than that. I think it will keep them away from us as well. I think defensively, they're not there yet. I mean, watching any of their games, it's always like a shootout with them, but they got some power in midfield now too. I mean, they got a lot more like I say, you can see just watching that team this year compared to last year, you can see the impact a coach can have in terms of even the same players, how they change their game and how they play instead with just a coaching change. Those guys run now, which is a huge difference compared to last year.
Yeah.
And this week's game, when they go to Old Trafford, I think that will be a huge way for them to announce their coming, I guess, if they can beat United away, which I do not see it happening. I think that says a 0-0 to like a 2-2 draw all over it, but that would be a huge win for them. Yeah, because the only 2 games they lost was before they even were able to put things together, and they played who did they play? I know one of them was City. The other one was Chelsea, correct? They lost to? getting a good answer. This was it. Okay.
Their first, didn't they play like everyone? Their first, like all the top four in their first 4 games.
Yeah, before they were able to put the new roster together and everything. I mean, they started with City, they lost home to City, and then the next week looks like they went to Chelsea and lost 3-2 to Chelsea, and then they've been unbeaten since. But like I say, they do let in a lot of goals. I mean, they've let in 18 so far, compared to like Chelsea at 11, us at 5, and City at 7. So I feel like it kind of reminds me of Liverpool a few years ago, where they have the potential to score 4, but they also have the potential to concede 4. So
Yeah. Well, if we win tomorrow, it will be our best. Wait, what? If we win tomorrow, it will be our best record after 15 matches, of a top flight season, with 12 wins and 3 draws since 78, 79, and 90, 91. I had a whole list of stats that I didn't, and facts that I didn't use, guys. So I'm just.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible this season that we're having. If Man City weren't just,
I mean, yeah, if it wasn't for City doing what they are doing, I mean, I feel like on any regular season, we're probably up by 5-6 points, and just looks like we're cruising to winning the title. So I guess says a lot about what City is doing, and then I think says a lot about what we're doing. I know, like I say, I think we were talking about this last podcast we did as a 3, and what City does kind of undermines how we view Liverpool's achievements so far. I mean, in terms of how many goals we conceded and how we played, and our record, we only had 3 draws, no losses, and kind of undermines what a great season they're having so far. So let's hope this month goes good and continue on the Champions League, hopefully, and then I think maybe we'll build some momentum this month. I mean, this is really the month where we can really make a statement.
Could we be the only team, the unbeaten team, to lose the league?
It looks possible, doesn't it? I mean,
well, as you said, if we beat Man City, we go above them.
Yeah, we got a long way to go. Long way to go.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a 4-0 victory tomorrow.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, great podcast, guys, and we'll be sure to have our thoughts on the game for the next one. Positive thoughts.
Positive thoughts. I'm with you. Positive thoughts. Sounds good. See you guys Thursday.
All right. Bye.
Cheers. Bye, guys.